everybody, welcome to another episode of Every Marvel Movie Ever. I'm your host, Gabe Thomas. With me, as always, is your co-host, Francisco Alcala. And today we are going to be taking a look at X-Men 2000.
It was very okay.
Have you seen it before? You have to have seen it before.
Well, yeah, we watched it together.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That was a few years ago, but...
That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, you know, in X-Men years, that's 14. It's the conversion. I have a calculator on here on my phone. I think Blade is the one that put Marvel on the map, but X-Men is the one that put modern superhero movies on the map. Like, there isn't the Avengers without X-Men. This is really the one that kind of kicks Marvel into gear of making, like, real films that are seen as Marvel movies, and no matter what you think of it, it's important.
I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, I think it's great. That's probably nostalgia, because I've probably seen it like 30 times, but... I think it's really good, and that's even separating the personal politics I have with the director. So,
oh God,
we're gonna try...
Who's the person that worked on this movie to hate this week?
You don't know?
No.
This is directed by Bryan Singer.
Oh, no.
This is his big claim, and we've talked about Bryan Singer before on the podcast. He's had many, over, like, 2 decades, he's had many allegations of pedophilia and rape.
Anyway.
I think that's all we should comment on that before lawyers get involved, but... I'm going to try to keep that right out of the show. I just think it's important.
I can already hear the FBI knocking on the door.
Well, you know, maybe they should fucking knock on his door, because he's still making movies, so... This was released on July 14th, 2000, with a budget of only $75 million, which isn't that much for a superhero movie. I think they use it in the right places. There's the effects in this movie are... Most of them, I think, really hold up. There's some stuff towards the end that's a bit iffy, but... Like, the claws look really fucking great. They used 3 different kind of claws, depending on the scene. They used either steel, rubber, or another thing that I am blanking on.
CG.
Yeah, probably. Actually, I don't think there were any CG claws. I think they're only CG when they come in and out. And there is that amazing scene in the bar at the start when, like, you see the 3rd claw come out and, like, almost hit that guy in the throat, and that's awesome. Like, the middle claw. That's just a pretty fucking iconic moment. And so it was a budget of $75 million, but it made almost $300 million. So this movie really made its money back, which is...
It did okay.
Yeah, it did pretty fucking great. At this point, Bryan Singer had only directed Usual Suspects, which, Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey teaming up. That's great. They would do that again in Superman Returns. No comment. But he also made Apt Pupil, which also had Ian McKellen in it. But the funny thing is about Apt Pupil, which I hate saying, I'm going to stop saying it. It's not a fun name to say. But that movie has Ian McKellen as a Nazi, and this movie has him as right the opposite of that.
Yeah.
This was written by David Hayter, who, you're not going to believe this shit, the writer of X-Men, like the solo screenwriter credit, is the voice of Solid Snake.
Yeah,
that's fucking
I recognize
awesome.
The name.
That's really crazy, right?
What the fuck?
Why? That's so cool. Like, I feel like he succeeded, because he also wrote X2, which people fucking love that movie. Yeah, so he wrote the first 2 of these, and he wrote Watchmen, the movie Watchmen, which I fucking love, so...
What a career.
What a career, right? And he's still, I don't think he's voiced Snake from 4 onwards, though. I mean,
there's
stopped.
only been 1 after 4,
yeah,
so...
but I don't think he's in it, but I don't even know if Snake's in that. I haven't played it. I don't know.
No.
Because you're not Snake in that.
Yeah,
so
you're Big Boss, but not really Big Boss. You're a clone.
Because at the end, you in, like, bandages or some shit.
Yeah, you're a clone that got plastic surgery to look like Big Boss, and also you convinced yourself to believe you were Big Boss, so you're Big Boss, but not Big Boss.
Look, I've only played the second one, I'm not gonna lie. So,
welcome to Metal Gear.
Yeah, everybody's like, the president has like an army of robots or something.
Probably, I don't know.
And everybody's like a secret assassin who reads your save files. This is the first movie with fucking our boy Kevin Feige as an executive producer on this one. I think he executively produces Blade 2, and then he, like, just solo produces. Not solo, but he's, like, producing everything after that. Or most things. I think usually he's only associate producer on, like, Hulk and stuff, but he has had a production credit in every single fucking Marvel movie from X-Men onwards. So, yeah, I love him. That's all I have for basic trivia, and then I have a fucking ton of fun facts. Get ready for this, because like we said last week, when it's a real movie, it's a lot easier to find stuff about it.
Because 2000s DVDs were literally made just for special features.
Fuck yeah, they were. And this DVD is incredible. So this is like I think I got this in like 2014 or something, so this is like a reprint of, it's just the box is a reprint, but then the fucking DVD, It's a 2000s DVD.
Oh my
It's
God.
like from the year 2000. It's just a big ol' X. I love it. It's great. I've had that for a very long time. That's why it has fucking Wolverine claw marks all over it. I guess we've already kind of talked about how this is just an important movie for the superhero. The whole thing of superhero movies, we wouldn't have like 65 fucking Marvel movies if we didn't have X-Men.
Yeah, pretty much this is like the start of like modern superhero movies.
Yeah, I think it is. Obviously, there's still they still don't have comic accurate costumes, and there's some.
At least they're not wearing yellow spandex.
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
It's like, oh yeah, what if we gave you the one thing you wanted to see?
Don't you love it
I love
when you change the design of characters and then you make fun of the old design? Everyone
Yeah.
loves that.
Well, it's called hanging a lampshade. It's like as long as you acknowledge what you're doing is dumb, it's no longer dumb. That's like a screenwriting rule. And it's
Even though that's
bad.
not how it works
No,
at all.
Unless you're Han Solo, it doesn't fucking work. Maybe stop doing it instead of just having dumb things and then being like, yes, this is dumb. Just don't have dumb things. Or you can have dumb things, but just make it work. It's fine.
Just don't acknowledge that it's dumb because it makes it better.
This is the time period. This is the year after The Matrix. We have like Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman in it and Underworld and shit to come. I don't mind the leather costumes in the first 3 X-Men movies. It's when it's in like Days of Future Past and Apocalypse and they're still doing it that gets to me. Like, I don't hate the costumes in this. I think they're fine.
They never got out of their goth phase.
No, not
for
really.
like 10 years.
Except in First Class when they have fucking yellow costumes all of a sudden and it looks great.
It's because it's a prequel.
Oh yeah, so they had good costumes and then at some point he was like, eh. Also,
It reminds him of when he got a bullet to the spine.
to the spine. Yeah, maybe that's why he changed it. Even though he doesn't fucking wear a costume. When we get to First Class, which is, yes, it's a fucking great film, but...
We've said that, like, every time we mention X-Men on the show.
Because it's probably the best X-Men movie that isn't, like, Logan or maybe Deadpool, but...
Deadpool, like, barely counts.
Yeah, I guess well, whatever. There's X-Men in it. And there's even more X-Men in the second one. But...
For, like, 5 seconds.
Eventually, we're gonna get into timelines, especially with First Class.
Oh, I can't wait for
There's
that.
a line in this first X-Men movie when Xavier's like, oh, the children of the school have affectionately started calling them X-Men or whatever. It's like, yeah, but you guys were the X-Men in the 60s.
Yeah.
And all throughout then, and I think that was your decision. So... that's more for when we get to First Class, because there's so much that's just
That's
doesn't
more
make
for when we
sense.
start getting to, like, every modern X-Men movie.
Yeah, well,
'Cause then-
eventually they throw in time travel and everything just gets fucking crazy.
And then they throw in 2 different Phoenix Forces.
Yeah. And a girl in the same timeline who gets the Phoenix Force twice within the fucking span of a decade, so.
And people aging really weirdly.
So our movie starts with the Holocaust, and it goes
What a
from
smooth
there.
transition.
Isn't that... I don't know why he makes that decision to be like... Because you know what? I kind of really like the opening scene because it's young Magneto who he's in a concentration camp because he's Jewish or whatever.
Is that why you like it, Gabe?
I love, that imagery. I think it's really powerful. It's beautifully shot and everything. And then, Magneto's mom gets taken away from him and he's bending the gate or whatever and he
Gets beat.
gets beat with the fucking back of a shotgun. What do you think about that choice to start this film with Holocaust imagery?
I thought it was a little weird, but it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
It was a pretty good way to open it.
You wouldn't do that now.
Oh, no.
No
Not at all.
MCU movie would ever start with with 9/11 or something. Like, you can't do that. That's bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's bad.
9/11 was
Newsflash,
bad?
9/11
Wow.
was bad. After that, this movie does character introductions really well. You get Rogue, who is a bigger part of this than she is in anything, except they've stripped her powers to fly and to do anything cool except suck people's powers out. So, whatever. They really nerfed her, but
She has the deadly suck.
but she
That's about
oh
it.
yeah. Watch out for her. Watch out for Sookie from True Blood. But
God.
yeah, you know it's her.
Yeah.
But I love that opening scene where she like
Kills a guy.
where she's making out with her boyfriend, and then she's like, oh no, and then she runs away. That's how the X-Men animated series starts, with Jubilee, and she like, I don't know,
Kills somebody.
She like blows up a VCR or something, and her parents are like,
Let's just hope the neighbors never find out our beautiful Jubilee's a mutant. Well, they'd never understand.
She gets found by Storm and Cyclops or whatever, which is exactly what happens in this. And I like that parallel to be like, yeah, it's not going to be Jubilee. Jubilee can be a side role, a non-speaking role in this, that she just sits next to Rogue in a few classes, because there are quite a few mutant cameos in this movie. I like that opening, and I love when she goes to the bar and she sees Wolverine in the cage match. That's a fantastic introduction.
It was probably one of the like best parts of the movies. Like, I don't know why I like that. Like, the entire, like, what was it, like 10 minutes that was like, in the bar. I don't know if
it's that much, but
it felt like that much, but I don't know.
Fun fact, the actor who drives her to the bar, like, because she gets in a truck, and that truck driver is the guy who voices Beast on the animated show, so that's cool. It's fun.
Yeah,
little,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. This movie has a lot of stuff like that, just little cameos and nods, and more so than I think, like, MCU movies, it's all like, what if Iron Man, but this is like, what if things that we don't usually, like, you don't actually see this, but it's still in the universe, and I kind of like that more, in a way. It feels more organic, I think, than just being like, oh, but what if everyone was Iron Man? Because Wolverine is just one of the most iconic fucking characters ever. Like, that performance is so... He did it for 17 years.
Yeah, even if you haven't, like, watched, or, like, even if you don't really know what the X-Men are, you still know who Wolverine is.
Yeah, you do.
Like, you know that he's part of the X-Men.
And he's got claws.
Yeah.
And he has a healing factor.
And he says bub.
Hey, bub. He only says bub twice in this movie, I think.
Yeah.
Which is probably fine.
I thought he only said it once.
No, he calls Sabretooth it twice. No, yeah, I think everyone except maybe Halle Berry as Storm is really good in this. It's fucking great casting.
I mean, even Halle Berry as Storm wasn't that bad. It was just the accent.
This is the only one where she does, like, a Kenyan accent.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
They're, like...
And it's bad.
She's fine. Like, she's pretty much as good as everybody else, except for the accent.
Yeah.
Because that just ruins it.
She rarely has anything to do. She turns on the wind machines, and that's about it.
Hang on to something.
Like, at the end of the movie.
And she electrocutes a frog.
Oh, that's pretty great. I am excited to talk about that. This movie does characters really great. I know I keep saying that. This probably isn't proven better in any other example than Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier and Ian McKellen as Magneto. Putting those two together in those roles is one of the most brilliant comic book casting choices ever. Like, they are flawless. Especially, and you know what, not especially either of them. They're both so good, and I love that scene after the Senate hearing where Jean Grey is talking to Senator Kelly in Congress about, yeah, you know, mutants aren't a threat. Mutants aren't, you know, it's all a metaphor. In the 60s, it's a metaphor more for racism and homophobia. In this movie, I think it's more metaphor for gun control, because there's a lot of allusions to, like, it's having mutants in school is like having kids with guns in school, because they are dangerous. And yeah, they are. That's not false.
That's not wrong. It's just like...
But it's still profiling.
Yeah.
And it's not okay. But I just love that scene where it's perfectly... Magneto, he thinks that there's a war coming between the humans and the mutants. Xavier thinks that there is a way to bring those two groups of people together and to understand each other. And it's just that one scene in like a few lines that just fucking perfectly showcases their ideologies and the divide there.
We are the future, Charles, not them.
And you get that sense of, oh, these guys, they're old friends, and they were very close at one point, but now this whole thing has happened, and it's been brought to the light or whatever, and now they're on different paths. I think it's great. I love it. I think that's one of the strongest things of, especially the first two of these X-Men movies. They're so good.
Yeah, I think they're definitely, like, the highest point of the movie.
Yeah. Bryan Singer... Yeah, he is a big Star Trek fan, and everyone was like, "Yeah, guys, just fucking get Picard and get Picard as Professor X." One of my favorite stories is when they were trying to convince Patrick Stewart to do it, and they gave him a bunch of X-Men comics, and he was like, "Why am I on the front of a comic book?" And so that was him being like, yes, I will fucking do this. I can't wait. Because everybody was super enthusiastic. But also, Bryan Singer wanted this to be like a darker thing.
Of course he did.
And
because every superhero movie has to be super dark.
Until, like, yeah, forever.
Yeah.
Most of them. even though this has so much goofy shit, it has a fucking orange frogman like tap dancing at the end. So he banned everybody from reading the X-Men comics on set. He was like, no reading these, it's gonna tamper with your vision. Which, don't fucking do that if you're making a comic book movie. But everyone was like, yeah, we read them anyway. Fuck
yeah,
that
of course
guy.
they did.
You know who doesn't get enough credit in this movie? James Marsden as Cyclops, I think, is really good. I think
I don't know. He just came off as like a total asshole the entire movie. I didn't like him.
I think that he and just as much as Xavier and Magneto are like have differing ideologies, I think him and Wolverine are the perfect blend of like bad boy and then just like Boy Scout in the way, because that's how it is in the comics. It's very like cartoon or cardboard cutout or whatever. But it works. That I love that one scene where he's like, because there's that weird love triangle over Jean that I don't love, but
yeah, me either.
It's kind of weird. I don't really like it, especially since when you consider that Wolverine's like hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
A little weird. He looks like Hugh Jackman, so it's fine. I do love that scene when Cyclops is like, or where Wolverine's like, is this the part where you tell me to stay away from your girl? He's like, if I had to do that, she wouldn't be my girl. But also, fuck you, stay away from her. I love that scene.
You gonna tell me to stay away from your girl?
Well, if I had to do that, she wouldn't be my girl.
Well, then I guess you've got nothing to worry about, do you? Cyclops.
It must just burn you up that a boy like me saved your life, huh? You gotta be careful. I might not be there next time. Oh, and Logan, stay away from my girl.
I think that's the perfect scene for the rest of all these movies. That's like, this is the relationship. This is the relationship between Magneto and Xavier's relationship between Magneto and Wolverine. Everybody has a connection with everybody else in a great way, other than maybe like everyone in Storm. I don't know why anyone talks to her.
I don't know why she's in the movie when she doesn't do anything.
Because she's iconic, and you need diversity, and Halle Berry's gonna win an Oscar in 2001, so you gotta speed it up. You gotta speed up the process.
I've been thinking about it. I think I figured out why I think the movie's so boring.
Oh, damn.
Well, okay, it's not... That was the wrong way to put it. I don't think it's boring. I just... Like, I couldn't figure out why I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. Mm-hmm. But I think it might have just been because a lot of the movies just, like, setting up, like, relationships for the next movies. Which, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that just might be why I didn't like it as much, as it was just a lot of, like, setup for the next movies.
No, I think that's fair. Most people... X2 is where it's at for them, because it's a lot more action and like there's a lot more cool shit. There's still characters being introduced, because that one has the inclusion of Nightcrawler, who's fucking great and has an amazing opening scene in that movie I can't wait to talk about. Most people are like, X-Men 1 is good setup, X-Men 2 is like the big payoff of it. And so I feel like you'll probably think that too, because
yeah, probably,
since all these relationships are set up in this one, they really get to shine in X-Men 2, I think. I prefer this one to X-Men. This is my favorite of the original trilogy, honestly, but I think it's just because those character moments, like, that's my shit. Like, that's what I want. I want those, like, that's my favorite thing, and that's why I love the MCU movies, is, like, most of the time...
all of them are just that, just this.
Most of the time, the character moments are way better than the action scenes for me. I don't know why. Because I love watching... Fucking that bit where Wolverine does like the circle around the spike on the Statue of Liberty is like my favorite thing in life. But
even though that wouldn't work at all, how does that work?
I couldn't look at that and tell you what's going on.
Yeah,
but that's so cool, and I don't care. That's fucking awesome. But it looks so good, and then he just has the claws, and he's on the edge of the Statue of Liberty, and there's like fireworks and shit. It's awesome, but.
Welcome to 2000s action movies.
It really is. Oh my god. If Blade is the end of the 90s, this is the start of the 2000s.
This is like hard early 2000s.
And guys, I fucking love it. X-Men is like like when it's like I'm gonna watch 3 superhero movies, what should I watch? It's like X-Men, Dark Knight, Avengers. For me, it's like those are the 3 to really get those, because those are 3 very different ones, because X-Men kind of blends the dark and the cartoony.
Those are all extremely different movies.
Well, I think Avengers is kind of like silly, and then
definitely.
the Dark Knight,
it's like super cartoony.
But then the Dark Knight is like super brutal, and then this is kind of like a little dark because it has the fucking Holocaust and homophobia and shit, but then also really silly because you have a man with metal claws fighting a big cat who keeps roaring at his master for some reason. Can we
And
talk about...
also two old grumpy men with superpowers
But
hating each
but
other.
they're so good. I love those guys. They're both like Patrick Stewart is Sir Patrick Stewart, and the same with
Yeah.
Ian McKellen, because they were like knighted for their services to acting. Like, these are fucking powerhouse actors.
That's how you know you fucking made it in the world.
They're so
when you get
good.
knighted just for doing your job.
Yeah, but they're just that good, and they're so fucking. Because I just love those guys so much. And
Oh yeah, they're great.
this is the same time when Ian McKellen's also Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, and so he's alongside Christopher Lee. So in like
what a good time for him.
in 2000 to like 2003, at the same time you have Ian McKellen alongside Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen alongside Christopher Lee. This is like a fucking nerd's dream. But you also have to deal with the Star Wars prequels are coming out and the Matrix sequels. So it's kind of also a shit time, but those two
you gotta
things
keep
are
things balanced.
fucking awesome. Yeah, as all things should be.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about Sabretooth, who I've met Sabretooth. I've met Tyler Mane, who plays Sabretooth. I met him at Comic-Con in 2013, so I was like 9 or 10 when I met him. He was really nice. He was awesome. He was, I have a signature in my room, but
Of course you
he
do.
also, I have lots of weird signatures up there. He also played Michael Myers in the Halloween remakes, in the Rob Zombie ones.
Really?
Yeah, so he's like, because he's a wrestler, so he's huge.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's not the greatest actor in the world, but I prefer Sabretooth in this to Origin Sabretooth.
Oh yeah, me too.
X-Men Origin Sabretooth, Liev Schreiber is a great actor, and he's one of the highlights of that movie. But this guy just fucking looks like him. Like, Tyler Mane looks exactly like comic book Sabretooth. And I know that looks aren't everything, but what do you want?
I mean,
like,
he has it down.
yeah, he
Like-
really does. He's got, like, the big fur coat, he's got the long blonde hair, and he's I don't like the lion roars. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't get why, because he does that most of the time, but he can talk. So why doesn't he talk?
Yeah.
He says like 2 lines, and then the rest of the time he just growls. But why?
And why is it like a weird lion sound effect?
Yeah.
that they've input. Toad? Do you want Toad also? So that's Ray Park, who is best known for being fucking Darth Maul. So
Hold on.
this is the year after the Phantom Menace. So
Are you fucking serious?
yeah. So that's Darth Maul. He doesn't voice Darth Maul. He does do the voice for Toad, and he's like overdubbed in Phantom Menace, like the "At last we will reveal ourselves, at last we will have revenge" or whatever. I think Darth Maul has like 2 lines in that movie anyway, but they still decided to dub over Ray Park. Yeah, no, I think it's fun. It's really
Yeah.
goofy.
I actually really liked him for some reason. Like, I mean, he's meant to look gross,
And
so
he
they did a
fucking
good job because he
does.
definitely looks disgusting.
He's very yellowy,
And he has like warts all over his
and
face.
he eats birds out of trees.
Literally, the introduction of him with the fucking goggles where his eyes are like half of his face.
Yeah, and then he says something to Sabretooth, and Sabretooth does his growl. So
Yeah.
I love the Brotherhood of Mutants in this, too, because they have, like, this crazy base, and that's a real set. Like, there's never a second where you're like, is this a weird green screen? It looks great.
Oh yeah,
It's
you
just-
definitely believe that that's like an actual place.
I don't love the... I think probably on the Weekly Planet or something, I'm stealing this from them, but the observation that at all times Magneto has like those, I don't remember, like the Newton's balls things like clicking.
Oh,
and then-
yeah, that's so
he's
weird.
constantly thinking about that. But then if you think about it, that's kind of a good, like, it's like a metronome, like that's like a mental focus thing. So if you start to think about it like that, it's kind of cool, because the second he walks out of the room, they all fall. And I don't really know, or it's Newton's cradle, that's what it is, where it's the 5 metal balls and like 2 go on the side and then 2 go on the side, and there's always one stationary in the middle. He's doing that, but just with his mind, because he's Magneto. It's kind of dumb, but it's just a fun way to showcase that that's what he's all about.
I don't see a problem with it. Go for it.
One of the most, like, this is a dumb thing, but it makes me smile segments of this movie that never comes back is the, oh, we're gonna go to the train station to get Rogue. Wait.
Where's my motorcycle?
And then Wolverine has stolen Cyclops' super fast motorcycle, and he's on that weird, gross green screen, and it's terrible, but it makes me so happy because it's so goofy.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really funny. it's moments like that are like, I love this movie. Mystique, Rebecca Romijn, who this is the only movie I think when you don't see where Mystique doesn't transform back into whatever actress is playing her, whether that's Rebecca Romijn or Scarlett Johansson, sorry, Jennifer Lawrence.
There you go.
Yeah, because in X-Men 2, she like roofies a security guard in that one, and then in X-Men 3, she's Rebecca Romijn a lot. She's not in that one as much, but and then in First Class you get the fun Easter egg where the whole movie she's, it's Jennifer Lawrence Mystique, but then she turns into Rebecca Romijn for a second. So that's a really fun joke in that. These X-Men movies, man, they're a lot of fun, and this one especially for me.
Does she die in this?
No, she's in the other two.
Well, yeah, I know she's in the other two.
She's at the end though.
Was she?
Remember where it's like, so Senator Kelly gets turned into like the Blob or something. My whole life, ever since I was like 9 years old and saw this movie, I have always wondered who that's supposed to be. If it's like,
is it not supposed to be anybody?
I can't tell if it's supposed to be like the Blob or if it's supposed to be like, I don't know. I mean,
the Blob doesn't
Skin,
melt into a puddle of water.
Even like Skin or something, because he does the weird, who we talked about in Generation X, where he's doing the weird like
shoving his face through metal bars.
Yeah.
Which that effect was really bad.
I like that.
I mean, like, I thought it was funny, but like it looks so gross.
That was in all the trailers. Of
course it
moment.
was.
I think this is a good episode for me to get into my past obsession of watching movie trailers. When I was like 7, or like 6 to 8, my parents were like, my mom was like, "Oh, you can't watch some of these movies because they're too violent," or she was like, "Oh, you can't watch X-Men," so I would just go over to friends' houses and sneak watching them anyway. But so I would watch the trailer for, there were a select handful of movies. I would watch the trailer for X-Men, or the first 3 X-Men movies, the first 3 Spider-Man movies, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Gremlins, and all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I would watch those trailers like 10 times in a row.
Why Pirates of the Caribbean?
Because that's solid like 2010 entertainment, where like those are the movies that are coming out. And so a lot of the time my earliest exposure to these movies were just watching the trailer like 10 times in a row. And so I have vivid memories of watching the X-Men trailer, and watching the most important bits was the bit when he pushed his face through the bars, and I was like, that's fucking the coolest thing ever. I think that kind of gave me a little bit of an obsession with like body horror, like Cronenberg stuff, because that's fucking terrifying, especially when he melts later. And
what does he even melt into? Water?
He just turns into water, and then he turns into nothing. But in the trailer, it's that moment, and it's also the moment that whenever this moment comes up in the movie when I'm watching it now, I'm like, this is bad. When Jean does the weird, like, super quick spin to Jean, like, grabbing the medicine bottle or whatever when she's operating on Wolverine. Like, Wolverine's lying on the operating table, and then it does, like, there's Jean. Oh, she picked up the thing.
Oh, yeah.
It would do those two things. And then it was like, trust some, fear the rest. That was the tagline.
Okay.
But anyway, back to, I don't even know what we're talking about, the Blob, I guess. So Senator Kelly, this is a lot of my favorite commentary and entertainment is like around the time of the Bush administration, because like
Great.
This is the year Bush gets elected, so the campaign's still going on, but he wouldn't be elected until November of 2000. This is July, so there is a lot of like Bush in Senator Kelly basically being the main like anti-mutant rights guy. Senator Kelly, he's like, his one fear is like, oh, I never would want to be a mutant because mutants are dangerous and gross, and it's commentary. And then he gets turned into a mutant because Magneto's plan is to turn all the world leaders into mutants, so they will have to kind of be forced to enact mutant policies, which I like. That's a cool little plan that he's got going on. But so, after he's turned into a mutant by Magneto, he shows up at the X-Mansion and is like, hey, can you guys fucking help me out here? I'm a big blob man. And then he melts into a nothing man, and it's fucking horrifying to watch, but I love it. And I don't even remember where I was leading with this, but and we get that Stan Lee cameo, the actual Stan Lee cameo. He's on the beach, he's like cooking hot dogs or something when Kelly first shows up there. So
what a
that's
weird
fun.
first cameo.
Yeah, but it works. It's subdued enough. It's not like
it's not like in your face.
It's not like in like Rise of the Silver Surfer where he says, "I'm Stan Lee."
Invitation, sir.
I should be on that list.
Name?
Stan Lee. Yeah, nice try, buddy.
No,
Nice
no,
try.
really,
Nice
I'm
try,
Stan
yeah.
Lee.
Which is, I have a love-hate relationship with that scene. I think that's funny, but it's a little too much for me.
I wish that was every Stan Lee cameo. Like whenever he shows
I'm
up,
on the list.
He just waves in the back. I'm Stan Lee.
Hey, I'm Stan Lee. Yeah, like Mallrats. And I think last week I was talking about how, X-Men's the first theatrical Stan Lee cameo. I should have said Mallrats, because I cry every time I see that scene in Mallrats. It's one of my favorite movie scenes ever. That scene's so good, where it's just him giving Brody that speech about, like, love and stuff.
I haven't even seen that movie, but I've seen that scene.
It's so good.
Hey, Stan. Yeah. She really meant that much to you?
Brody, I'd give it all up. All of it. For just one more day with her. Take care.
So that the movie ends, the last bit is Senator Kelly, who died because he melted. He's like,
that's right, yeah.
He does a really like comically quick press interview. He's like, yes, mutants are okay, I'm leaving, or whatever. He's like, everything is fine, goodbye. That's the whole address, and then he just walks off camera, and he walks into the camera, and for a second, his eyes turn into the yellow Mystique eyes, which in this movie is just like the one indication that this character is now Mystique. When like Bobby does it earlier, it's like, his eyes are yellow, and it's like, he is Mystique. This is the one way we telegraph to you. He is Mystique. Which, that's fine, but
it works.
I don't like he walks to the camera, and for a few seconds, his eyes turn yellow.
That's so dumb.
Just to indicate he's Mystique. There's a moment, speaking of Ray Park, actually, there's a moment in Solo, a Star Wars story, at the end, spoiler alert, the big twist is that the crime operation that's been the whole movie has been run by Darth Maul, and at the end of the movie, Darth Maul shows up in a hologram and turns on his lightsaber in the hologram to show that he is Darth Maul and he has a double-bladed lightsaber. It's a bad film, but it's kind of like that. It's like, here you go, this is how we are reminding you that this is this character, which is really weird. You could have just been like, because the way they even get Senator Kelly is they Toad and Mystique hijack the plane that he's on, and then they're like, you could have been like, yeah, he died in that plane crash, it's fine, because they would, I assume, have like the flight numbers of that plane now, and be like, yeah, it's missing, because they're not going to give that back.
Yet he was the one person there, so you would assume that he died.
Yeah, so I would have rather had that. But another Mystique scene that's kind of weird to me is the whole Bobby thing, because in this we get Bobby, who's Iceman, and then we get Pyro. Pyro is the anti-Iceman. He's just the fire guy.
Obviously.
And he is like nothing in this movie. He has like a quick cameo. It's fun, but then he's a huge part of the next two movies. Pyro is all over those goddamn movies, because he starts most of X-Men 2, and he's an X-Men, and then he turns to the Brotherhood at the end of X-Men 2, and then there's an awesome fight, actually, between Bobby and him and at the end of X-Men 3. But my thing is, in these movies, there's this relationship between Bobby and Rogue, but in this movie, the only time they talk before he shows up on that park bench and is like, hey, fuck you, get out of the school.
Yeah, you should leave.
The only conversation they have before that point is the meeting in class, when he's like, hey, I'm Bobby, I just fucked up Pyro because I turned his fireball into ice and interrupted Storm's class or whatever, because I'm a dickhead. I'm a 2000s frosted tip dickhead, which I feel like there will be at least one in all of these movies.
Oh, definitely.
Get ready for the Mugger and Spider-Man to be called the same thing. I don't really like that moment where that happens, because it's like Rogue and Bobby have talked one other time, and it was the introduction, and then the next time she sees him, they're on a park bench, and he's like, fuck you, get out of the school.
He's like, you should kill yourself.
Because Logan stabbed you, and now Professor X is mad at you because you were stabbed. I know it's because she used her mutant powers on him, which that's a great scene too, when Rogue goes to wake up Wolverine because he's like having a nightmare, and she stabs him. That is a really good
You
use
mean
of,
he stabs her?
He stabs her. Sorry, that'd be weird.
No, Rogue stabs Logan.
She brought a chef's knife into the bedroom. She was asking for trouble. That's a great bit where it perfectly showcases Wolverine's healing factor, and also Rogue borrows mutant powers. And it actually serves three purposes, because it does those two things, and then also does the don't use your powers on another mutant. That's against the rules.
Can we talk about how Rogue gets her white streak at the end of the movie?
Yeah, okay, so...
I hate that.
So, in the comics, Rogue, famously, her kind of, like, signature physical trait is that she has a white streak in her hair. Also, in this, usually she's a weird southern girl who sounds like she should be working in a diner, working 9 to 5 or whatever.
Working 9 to 5.
In this, she gets the white streak in her hair because she's using the Magneto turn everyone into mutants machine, because a mutant needs to be powering that, but that mutant will be like, you're gonna fucking die if you operate that machine to turn everyone else into mutants, because I don't know why he designed it that way, but that's how he designed it. But so she's in that machine, and I guess the stress of it or something turns part of her hair white.
Movie bullshit turns her hair white.
Yeah, and at the end of the movie, she's like, oh, I like it, I'm gonna keep it that way. And Wolverine's like, all right.
I'm gonna go leave now.
I'm leaving. I gotta go to Alkali Lake, which we will see more of in X2. So
I didn't like that at all.
What are some
I did
other-
like the end though, like the like Statue of Liberty stuff. That was pretty cool.
yeah, the finale of this movie is at the Statue of Liberty, which in a lot of these early movies it has to be like a big set piece. Like Spider-Man, I think it's the Brooklyn Bridge. Or it's the George Washington Bridge, I can't remember.
It's a New York bridge.
It's definitely
There's, like,
a
4
New
of
York
them.
bridge. And then in X-Men 3, Magneto fucking ups the ante by moving the entire Golden Gate Bridge to like Alcatraz or something. I don't remember.
These movies always end so fucking weird. It's like
The first one is Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
the
Statue of
second one is
Liberty.
like a lake, and then the third one is the third one doesn't end with the Golden Gate Bridge. He just does that at like the middle point and goes, Charles always wanted to build bridges. So yeah, he's getting,
why is he Bane?
because that's what it sounds like.
Charles always wanted to build bridges.
Charles always wanted to burn bridges. Yeah, that's what he said.
And then like for some reason, what I always think of as like a big set piece in X-Men movie is when Magneto moves the entire fucking baseball stadium.
Okay, yeah. Oh no, it's a football stadium.
Or football
And
stadium,
that's
sorry.
in Days of Future Past.
Yeah, I don't know why I always think of that, because it's just fucking ridiculous.
That's a big thing too. After like trying to shoot the president in the face, and he also don't forget that in this universe, Magneto fucking killed John F. Kennedy, which we'll also get to in Days of Future Past.
These movies are fucking insane.
Yeah, they get so crazy. Also, don't forget that Charles Xavier met all of these kids at the same time in a fucking internment camp in the 80s in these movies. As Patrick Stewart, he met Cyclops and Emma Frost at the same time. He met Emma Frost as a teenager in the 80s, but he also knew her in the 60s as January Jones, a 30-year-old woman.
And also, she didn't age.
No, she aged backwards. Oh, man.
These movies are fucking stupid.
I can't fucking wait for some of this shit. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
When does it start to get, like, really weird?
Origins, I think.
It starts it at
But
Origins?
also X-Men 2 has Hank McCoy, like, on the TV for a scene as, like, a black man, and then he's Kelsey Grammer in X-Men The Last Stand, and he's Blue Beast. But then, in the 60s, he's
also Blue
Nicholas
Beast.
Hoult Blue Beast. So why did Xavier know him in the 60s and then in 2006, but not anything in between there?
And why did he go from being white in the 70s to being a black man in the 2000s?
In 2003,
and then back to
and then
a white blue man? I
Yeah,
don't know.
but remember that this is the future, because it says the not too distant future.
What the fuck?
So I don't know when that is, but the only thing that's different in the whole world is they have like weird hologram technology that's like those things you stick your face into, and that's it.
Did you mean Cyclops' eye laser?
Oh my god, I fucking wish we had that in this movie. We don't. We just have Cyclops setting his laser to the right temperature so he can burn off Toad's weird sludge on Jean Grey's face.
Gross.
So that was the segment Gabe and Franny yell about dumb shit in this movie.
Because these
for a
movies are
couple
dumb.
minutes. They're gonna get so much dumber. Also, Bolivar Trask is, I think, also a black man in X-Men 2, but then he's Peter Dinklage in X-Men Days of Future Past.
What the fuck?
So it's gonna get worse. Okay, so I asked some people on the internet to some of our trusted fans to tell us if they had anything they wanted to say about X-Men on the podcast, and my Paul, who we've talked about a lot, has told me that there's a moment in this movie when like they all jump onto something in slow motion, and that convinced him as a kid when he saw this movie that you could jump onto things like in slow motion.
Oh my
Like there was some
fucking
sort
God,
of
of course.
secret ability you could unlock in life. He also wonders if we're gonna do the Men in Black and Kick-Ass movies on here because they're technically Marvel, but I mean very loosely, but we already missed the Men in Black window, so I don't really want to incorporate that rule already if we've already missed it. I don't really want to
we're a bit
retroact,
late on that.
and we already have like 60 other movies to talk about anyway. So
I mean, if we ever just want to do a random episode, we can always do them.
yeah, I mean
I won't have a problem.
we
with
only
watching
also have like 100 DC movies sometime to maybe do if we ever want to open that fucking can of worms. I don't even want to say that on the air because I don't want people to be like, oh, it's confirmed. Here you guys
One,
gotta
it's
watch.
not confirmed. Two, do we even want to do that?
You gotta watch
'Cause they're-
Superman and the Mole
I
Man.
feel like most of them are so bad.
Yeah, but
and
there's-
I can't sit through all of them.
Well, you might have to. And
Yeah,
there's
I
a
might
lot.
have to,
There's a
but,
lot
like,
less of them.
It's gonna make me quit the podcast.
Yeah,
Like,
look,
I just
that's
can't sit through these.
That's way down the line.
Oh yeah, it's like 2 years away.
Jesus Christ! All right, Paul was asking if we like. I think he was listening to the like Nick Fury episode or Blade episode or whatever, and he was like, "Do you think David S. Goyer is a bigger hack than Simon Kinberg, who we've talked about, who directed Dark Phoenix, but also he wrote a bunch of good shit? I think Goyer is probably better because his name is attached to better stuff, and it isn't attached to Dark Phoenix.
And he's not a literal hit or miss.
I hate Batman v Superman, but Batman v Superman is more entertaining than Dark Phoenix.
Oh yeah, by far. Even though that's not a very good movie.
Jordan Edwards also says that all of the action sequences in this movie are just people throwing each other around. Like somebody picks up somebody and throws them.
Yeah, people don't really use their like powers very often. It's just a lot of them like either fist fighting or like throwing each other.
Yeah, I think probably Wolverine and Magneto use them the most if I had to pick, and Toad. Toad definitely uses that tongue.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm glad there isn't anything rapey in this one with Toad. That'd be weird.
Thank God.
There's that. I don't like the reoccurring gag with Sabretooth and Storm where he's like, "Oh, you owe me a scream." It's weird. It's very like Freddy Krueger. Like it's not for this movie.
Why is that like the one thing that Sabretooth says in this movie?
Yeah.
It's the same line every time.
I never remember that. Even as many times as I've seen this movie, as soon as that happens, I'm like, oh god, gotta deal with this shit now. And then Luke Osseworth, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Luke V says, just comments how everyone was super horned up for leather in the 2000s, which oh my god,
of course they were.
Fucking between Underworld and even Blade, which he's got leather trench coats and stuff, and this is post Matrix, which
I think that's what really kicked off the all leather.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, there's no question about that. It's all the Matrix.
Thanks, Keanu.
Thanks, Keanu. We love you.
You're breathtaking.
You want to do some trivia? I'm sure we'll have a lot. We have more to say about this movie than Blade, I think, just because there's more superheroes in it. There's going to be more to say. I am excited for Blade 2 next week, though. I haven't seen that in years because I've only seen that the one time.
Can't wait for it to be so much worse than the first one.
Everyone says it's better, but I've always liked the first one more. The second one definitely doesn't have some motherfuckers always trying to skate uphill, but it's also Guillermo del Toro, so it's gonna be pretty good. Like he's fucking. Yeah. I love him. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
Yeah. It's Blade meets Hellboy. Like, what do you want? With Hellboy in it. So Hugh Jackman, he took ice cold showers every morning before filming to get in character. I think it worked. He's pretty rugged in this. X-Men 2 has the fucking amazing sequence because Wolverine stabs only Mystique in this, maybe? And
that's why I thought she died for a second, because how did she survive that?
But then there's a sequence in X-Men 2, you've seen it, but do you
I don't really remember it, but I
do you remember the school raid when the anti-mutant force or whatever comes to the school and Wolverine goes fucking crazy on everyone?
Oh, yeah.
That is like the first scene in any of these movies where it's like, holy shit, Wolverine's a fucking killing machine, because you totally, there's like not much of that in this one's a lot like, that movie's silly and has a scene where Wolverine accidentally turns on NSYNC in a car, so you may hate me, but it ain't no lie, baby, bye, bye, bye. That scene's so fucking good. There's that one bit when he gets that guy up against a fridge and just stabs both of his claws into either side of his. That's great. I guess he also stabs Rogue, but not fatally or anything.
I don't know why I just remembered the one random scene where Wolverine flips off Cyclops with his claw.
That's a fun scene. It's so dumb and bad.
Yeah, it's so
like
dumb,
it's very
but-
like MTV. Like
Yeah.
that's a very like moment because he goes. I do like the setup though because it's Storm goes to the metal detector, Cyclops goes through the metal detector, which bullshit. I mean those are fucking ruby quartz and they're in a metal frame. Those are those definitely would have gone off whatever. And then Jean goes through it. Also, there's a ton of zippers on those suits, but
Yeah,
whatever.
all of them would have made it go off.
Yeah, but they all go through the metal detector, and then Wolverine, he's got an adamantium lace skeleton. He goes through the metal detector, and it goes off, and so he flips off Cyclops with the claw. It's kind of bad, but whatever. That was the funniest shit when I was 9.
Of course it was.
I also love, I loved, I don't know if I love it now, it's pretty bad. This is actually a holdover from Joss Whedon, because Joss Whedon did like a draft of this script, which you can kind of tell with some of the quips. Not many of them made it in, but this did, where it's the Wolverine fights himself as Mystique, and then he comes back, and he's like, Cyclops is like, prove it's you, and he's like, you're a dick, and he's like, all right. I like that. That's a Joss Whedon like holdover. I kind of like
really
that.
off-putting for me was in that fight between Wolverine and Mystique.
Himself?
Yeah.
Which we get again in Logan, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, there's another Wolverine on Wolverine. I'm gonna move this mic so if it sounds weirder, that's why. Okay, so now the audio all sounds weird probably because I just fucked with this mic stand for a very long time.
Yeah, Gabe just fucked the entire episode up.
Look, okay, like as soon as we're back from Christmas break, we're both gonna have our own mics. This whole setup's gonna be much better.
Hopefully.
We're gonna have our own mics. We'll probably have a fucking audio interface and a headphone splitter thing, so it's gonna be a lot better. I'll get this place more air conditioned too. I'm gonna make a lot of changes come Christmas, but right now, it's just two guys in a fucking shed. So, make it talking about Dolly Parton most of the time.
There's a podcast named Two Guys in a Shed.
There's a fucking porno called that, I bet.
Yeah, probably.
Don't Google it. Or maybe I'll leave a link to it in the description. We'll see how adventurous I feel.
It's the only thing in the description, like, it's just the link.
Yeah, I figure we can go without the social media links and YouTube channel this week. It can just be the fucking
Two guys in a
two
shed.
guys in a shed. Better than one guy, one screwdriver, I'll tell you that much. Have you seen that?
I think I've heard of
You'll
it.
kill yourself if you watch it. Don't watch it. It's a man and a screwdriver. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's not good. There's also one man, one pickle jar, I think.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know how he fit that whole thing up there, but
Yeah.
he did. Hire us for something. We'll talk about guys and pickle jars all day. I don't give a fuck. Oh, apparently neither Patrick Stewart or Ian McKellen knew how to play chess before this movie, so that's kind of weird. You'd think they would.
Yeah.
I think they would know how to do that.
When they play chess in, like, every X-Men movie.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the big thing, which I love.
Did they learn how to play chess from that?
They learned. Well, they had like a chess master on set to be like, here's how you do it, but they didn't know before that, and that's weird. Like, you'd think Ian McKellen could play a good game of chess without being taught.
You think that both of them could play a good game of chess?
They're very like scholarly men. Like, you would think they would have figured that out, but that's interesting.
Oh.
I love the ending of this movie. I love the plastic prison. That's so cool.
And then when they leave the weird like tube, like
yeah, and it like. I'm glad it isn't like floating, like it has the strings.
Yeah.
Because I think that's great. There's a lot more of that prison in X-Men 2. There's a great scene in there where he busts out, or Magneto busts out of there. Yeah, like X-Men 2 has some fucking amazing action sequences. As Lady Deathstrike, who's like Lady Wolverine, but she has like 5, like a claw for each finger or whatever. They have a great fight. So I'm excited for that. And I do love the speech from the end of this movie is iconic.
Doesn't it ever wake you in the middle of the night? The feeling that someday they will pass that foolish law, or one just like it, and come for you and your children. It does indeed. What do you do when you wake up to that? I feel a great swell of pity for the poor soul who comes to that school looking for trouble.
But the weird, like, off-putting thing that I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, sorry. Before I had to fix this mic.
The fight between Wolverine and Mystique, when Wolverine like cuts her claws or something, and then she screams, but it comes out of it comes out of Hugh Jackman. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's so scary.
Yeah, that's That actually scared me.
There's a
like that's not. I didn't expect to hear a woman's voice come out of fucking Hugh Jackman.
That's the scariest thing of all. That's P.T. Barnum. It's not supposed to happen. That monster. Speaking of Rebecca Romaine, she brought like everyone tequila in a scene break, but then she like vomited blue vomit all over Hugh Jackman in a scene. I don't know why. I guess they got real wasted and she must have been in costume and some blue toxins got into her mouth or something. She threw up all over him. That's great. Also, that makeup took 9 hours to apply. This is also the start of, I think, actors doing shit like that, where it's 9 hours of makeup or whatever.
Yeah, I feel so bad for actors that have to go through that, like, every single day.
Well, that's why Jennifer Lawrence is, like, barely Mystique in the last 2 X-Men movies that she's in. Like, in Apocalypse and...
Isn't it just CG?
And, yeah, it is more in those... And I think in First Class they paint her up a lot. So, that scene when Hugh Jackman does, like, a jump off the Statue of Liberty, he got his testicles caught in that harness. So, that's embarrassing for him.
Oh, I don't know if I ever told you, but supposedly...
But you once got your testicles caught in a harness.
Yeah. No, supposedly Hugh Jackman didn't know that a Wolverine was a real animal.
Oh my god.
So
that's great.
So when he auditioned, he was doing like... Because he had researched wolves before, so he was, like, impersonating a wolf.
It worked.
And they're like, you realize that Wolverines are real animals, right? So then he had to go and research what a Wolverine was.
It's the Wolverine. Even though he's from Australia.
Yeah, I think those are Australian, so...
I'm a Wolverine.
Wait, what?
I'm a Wolverine. And my hatred keeps me warm.
I love that how many times he's played that fucking role. Like, a lot of people are like, oh man, Wolverine, I wish Wolverine wasn't the star of all these movies so the other X-Men would be showcased more. But, you know, fuck it. He's so good in that role. I'm glad that out of any of these guys who could have had solo movies, even though the first solo movie he had was fucking abysmal.
Who would have gotten a solo movie other than him?
Cyclops, obviously. You don't want to see that Scott Summers origin story. I guess you kind of get that in X-Men Origins anyway. Yeah, I guess no one. But the X-Men Origins is called X-Men Origins, like, hyphen Wolverine.
Yeah, because they were going to make one for every single one.
Yeah.
And then they trashed the Wolverine ones. They're just like, we can't.
We'll just fold it all into First Class. And the next one was going to be Magneto, and they're like, we'll just do that in 5 minutes in that movie. And I would rather see...
I mean, was that 5 minutes? It was like the entire movie. It was
but I mean just the Holocaust stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we'll just fold that over.
Oh, God.
I think that's
imagine
better.
Like an hour and a half movie about Magneto and the Holocaust.
Well, there is... I can't remember what it's called, but there is a graphic novel about Magneto and the Holocaust, and it's fucking great. There's barely any superhero shit in it. It's just him and the Holocaust, but he fucks some Nazis up so good. It's very satisfying. If I remember, I'll put that in the description because that's a good comic that everyone should read. Oh, you know what? When we get to X-Men 2, there is a graphic novel I'm going to make you read before you see it. So it's not a long one, but it's what that movie's based on, and I feel like that's going to be some good discussion points. So. But a thing about Hugh Jackman also is that he is 6'3", and he is a lot taller than comic book Wolverine, who's 5'3".
Yeah, he's Wolverine in the comics is real small.
And people were not happy about that. They're like, he needs to be at least 5'3" exactly.
Like, what actor are you gonna find in the year 2000 that's 5'3" and can pull off looking like Wolverine better than Hugh Jackman?
Oh my god, do you want to hear all the actors that they had?
Oh no. Was it like...
Take some guesses. Unless you can't think of anything.
Yeah, I'm not good with actor names, so I wouldn't be able to guess.
Okay, well, listen to this. And think of these in 2000. Russell Crowe.
Oh, God.
That's post-Gladiator. That kind of works, I guess. Mel Gibson. Aaron Eckhart from Harvey Dent from The Dark Knight. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Viggo Mortensen, who's Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, so there's another Lord of the Rings little crossover there. Edward Norton.
No, absolutely not.
Bob Hoskins, absolutely not. Keanu Reeves, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Gary Sinise and Dougray Scott, he had the role, but then he opted out of it so he could be the villain in Mission Impossible 2. The worst Mission Impossible.
And it's all his fault.
And so he lost this career. He could have been Wolverine in all these goddamn movies, but he was in Mission Impossible 2, and now all he does is The Real Housewives. So he is, really fucked that one up.
Do you think that X-Men would have been as popular as it is without Hugh Jackman as Wolverine?
No, and I think they even say on the Weekly Planet, I don't think that he would have had the career that Hugh Jackman has had just because he had that role.
Yeah.
But that's still a pretty big role to have. Like, then people would remember your name. You wouldn't be that guy from Mission Impossible 2 that no one remembers.
You wouldn't be that guy from Real Housewives.
From Real Housewives, yeah. Hopefully he's happy. I think there actually is a story about, like, Hugh Jackman somehow ran into him. Maybe, I don't know if it was just, like, in the street or, like, at some fancy Hollywood party and, like, apologized for stealing his career because Hugh Jackman is the nicest man alive. So that's an interesting story.
It's weird how nice Hugh Jackman is compared to Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because Wolverine's just an asshole.
He is. He's a lovable asshole, but he's an asshole. Oh my god. Also, there's a whole Mr. Sunday video about this, but Michael Jackson wanted to be Professor X. Michael Joseph Jackson. No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Imagine fucking X-Men with Michael Jackson as Professor X and Edward Norton as Wolverine.
Yeah, oh my god. And imagine... Oh, wait, but then you have to let Michael Jackson near a bunch of kids. He can't be within, 500 yards of a school, so he can do it.
It's just a bunch of 30-year-old extras trying to play, high schoolers.
Yeah, I mean, it already kind of is. What cameos do we get in this? Jubilee, we get Kitty Pryde, she just walks through a wall.
Yeah, that's, the
we get her
only
again
one that I caught.
in the second one. We don't get, Banshee or anything. Yeah,
I don't think
and then we get
I don't think
Pyro,
there's really
of
any, by name other than...
No, well, it's just kind of this person has this power and you know who that is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for a while, Beast was going to be in this movie. There's some concept art. That would have been cool. He is a core X-Men character.
Yeah.
And he isn't introduced until X-Men 3, but also he's, with one of the best parts of X-Men 3. Kelsey Grammer's fucking great as Beast. Speaking of Wolverine's height, though, James Marsden, was always, standing on boxes to look taller than Wolverine because he's, 6 foot, and then Hugh Jackman's 6'3", and...
Did they do anything to make Hugh Jackman look smaller?
Well, just that. I think just making other people look taller by lifts or wearing lifts or whatever. Okay. So there's an Easter egg that I found this on the DVD, on my own when I was 9 or 10, and it blew my fucking mind. It's dumb, but also you got to remember that this is before it was you can never have Sony characters in a Fox thing or whatever. There's a gag on the DVD where it's a scene where Cyclops, Jean, Storm, and Wolverine, they just run into a room, and then behind them runs out a guy in a Spider-Man costume. Have you seen
What?
That? Yeah, a guy in a Spider-Man costume runs out, and he's doing the X-Men pose too or whatever that everyone else is doing, and then everyone on the crew starts laughing, and then the X-Men turn around, and then Spider-Man runs away and Cyclops chases after him, and I love that because you couldn't do that now.
Yeah, no, you'd get sued.
Yeah, but that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That exists. That's so fun.
It's such a weird coincidence that there was that, and then there was the post-credit scene in Iron Man.
I was just gonna bring that up. I'll put that clip in there.
As if gamma accidents, radioactive bug bites, and assorted mutants weren't enough, I have to deal with a spoiled brat who doesn't play well with others and wants to keep all his toys to himself.
If you hadn't heard that yet, they released that. That's the cut, I guess, post-credit scene that they did instead of the "you think that you're the only superhero in the world" kind of thing at the end of the first Iron Man.
It's the same idea.
Yeah, except in this
one they got a little more specific.
He references Spider-Man. He references mutants and stuff. So that again, and actually, I want to save this for the Spider-Man episode, but Wolverine was gonna be in that movie, and so we'll get into that. I don't want to talk about that too much. I want to save that for then, but. There's this whole story about that we'll talk about.
Imagine if the X-Men and Spider-Man were in Phase 1 of the MCU.
Well, I don't think those movies would be as good because I think the whole reason those are good movies is because they're characters nobody gave a fuck about. And
yeah.
So you could make those changes. But no one knew that Jarvis was a human when Iron Man came out. You could do those things.
It's just a weird thing to think about, though.
It is. Yeah, I mean,
they definitely wouldn't have been as good.
But when we're doing this podcast, we still have X-Men movies and we have Ghost Rider movies and Daredevil. We have all these characters at the same time. It's not directly connected to each other, which is
at all.
No, exactly, which is why I like these kind of things where it's we had a guy run out in a Spider-Man costume because the nerds are gonna like that. That's fun. People know what Spider-Man is, and that's cool.
And the CG Hugh Jackman in that Fantastic Four movie.
We're gonna talk about that a lot in that episode.
Yeah.
There's some. I was looking everywhere for this clip. I'll probably Fuck. If I say that, I'm gonna have to find it for this episode now, god damn it.
I mean, if you can't find it, you can just cut this out.
Yeah, okay, but I don't know what movie it is. It's some fairy tale movie. Hugh Jackman has a cameo in it, and he, like, does a Wolverine impression. And I don't know what it is, but I've seen that clip all over the place. And it's like, I think someone says he's doing his Wolverine impression or something.
If we go, I will break you.
What is that? What are you doing?
He's doing his Wolverine thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like in Ocean's 12 when Julia Roberts' character gets mistaken for the actress Julia Roberts by Bruce Willis. Have you seen that?
That's such a weird thing to think about,
yeah,
like,
think about
in movies.
That scene
like,
is so weird. They did it.
It's just a weird thing to think about, like, in movies. Do the actors exist?
Yeah.
Like in Pulp Fiction, do John Travolta and Samuel Jackson exist?
Well, yeah, I have no... That fascinates me. It's like in Last Action Hero, the Schwarzenegger movie, since Schwarzenegger... Although Arnold Schwarzenegger actually does play himself in, like, a cameo appearance in that movie, but Sylvester Stallone's the Terminator. Like, there's a poster in that movie for Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's Sylvester Stallone.
That's pretty good.
So it's stuff like that. Like, there is... there's countless examples of that where it's like...
It's just weird to think about that, like, it's possible that those actors just completely don't exist in that universe of the movie.
That's what everyone says, where it's like, how come everyone in the MCU loves Star Wars, but Samuel Jackson's in that universe?
Yeah.
But it's like, I always just tell...
Spider-Man talks about... he talks about Star Wars and doesn't... put together that...
Well, whenever someone says that, I'm always just like, the prequels don't exist in that universe. That's my explanation for that, because in my headcanon, only the original trilogy exists, because you only see original trilogy toys and stuff, so that's just how I write that off. But it's that kind of thing, and I think that's really interesting. Ocean's 12 is a bad movie, but that scene fascinates me, that the character Julia Roberts plays is mistaken for the actress Julia Roberts by the actor Bruce Willis. Like, because Bruce Willis plays himself in that scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like layers of just, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's just like a weird thing to even bring up in the movie.
If I remember correctly,
who wrote that?
I think Bruce Willis in that scene has a bunch of dialogue about how, like, don't have a cell phone near a baby because it gives them cancer. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Do you have any idea how vulnerable a fetus's brain is to the electromagnetic field created by your cell phone?
Overall, I acknowledge this movie's flaws, but I think it's great. I think talking about it also makes me like it a lot more when you talk about, like, the character connections and stuff like that. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think talking about it made me like it a little bit more. I still don't think it's, like...
It's not as good as Blade for you.
Yeah, it's still not as good as Blade.
I like this a lot.
It's still a lot better than most of the stuff we've seen.
There's moments in this movie, like, there are moments in this movie where I'm just like, this is a film. Like, and I don't even mean the way that, like, you're watching, like, Spider-Man Homecoming and you're like, this is a great movie. Like, this is like a film where it's like having conversations about politics and shit, but it's mutant politics.
Yeah.
Like, it's stuff like that where I'm like, this is just like an actual, like, this is a cinematic experience more than just like, because, like, I love Spider-Man Homecoming, and yes, it's a great coming of age story or whatever, but Spider-Man Homecoming is not as good like a John Hughes style movie as X-Men is, like, a political thriller. I feel like it's kind of like, this has layers beyond just being a superhero, because it's dumb and it has people fighting with we didn't talk about the bit where Toad dances around because he does a dance, and that's always been so weird for me, but I love it.
I forgot about
and it's
that.
great when he just does the like, it's so bad, but I think it's great.
Does he die in this movie?
Yeah.
Did he?
Oh, he's fucking dead.
Okay,
you never see him again. He's not. Sabretooth also dies. You only see Mystique Magneto
What
from
happened
this
to
movie.
Sabretooth?
He gets thrown to the ocean off the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, yeah.
He gets thrown through a boat. So he's pretty dead. And Toad got electrocuted to death because you know what they say, Franny.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
That's this movie's Some Motherfuckers Always Trying to Skate Uphill. That's this movie's equivalent. It's not as good, but it's...
definitely not as good.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
It's maybe one of the closest things in a movie to that.
It's just because it's fucking absurd.
Because it's ridiculous, and it's, if you're trying to, in an argument with somebody for some reason, you're like, comic book movies are dumb, those are the two examples I would use. Those are my two go-to lines. I mean, I would never do that, obviously, it's why I do this fucking podcast, to defend these dumb movies, but you know, if you want to say
even
that,
to
it's
defend
like,
them? It's just to call them stupid
to-
and explain why you still like them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, these earlier ones are, but this one isn't really, because I think this is a great film. I think this is really good, and I'm interested after watching this a lot more critically to see how I feel about X-Men 2, because that's one that I've never really sat down and been like, is this great, or is this just
shit?
Like, because it has so many amazing sequences. I'm curious, but I guess that kind of wraps up our discussion. I mean, do you have any closing thought?
Not really. Like, this is like probably a 6 or 7.
Whoa, yeah. No,
like,
fair enough. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like a solid.
It's
8.
definitely not bad. Like, there wasn't really anything I didn't like about it, but there just wasn't really anything that I liked a whole lot either.
No, that's fair.
There was still some pretty cool stuff in it, and
yeah,
like,
you know, it was
still a pretty good time to
performances,
watch. Yeah,
especially you know, from Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and Ian McKellen there. And
like,
you can't really fault those moments.
Like, even if I didn't like it as much as you, I'd still watch it again.
Oh yeah,
like it's
an easy movie to watch.
Yeah,
it's not that long either. It's only an hour 45. Like in superhero movie time, that's not that bad. So.
Especially when you look at Endgame being 3 hours long.
I mean, that's kind of an exception.
every MCU movie being like 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, most of these movies are going to be like 2 hours,
yeah.
but it's okay because this is only like an hour 45.
Yeah,
it goes by even quicker. I think like it's breezy. I think. Oh, one more scene I really want to compliment as a great moment is the bit when Magneto turns all those cops' guns against them. That's really awesome.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
That's
and
a great
the
moment.
like Professor X with like Sabretooth and like
yeah
and
and the scene where like Professor X is reading Senator Kelly's mind, so he goes back to that moment earlier from the movie before he gets turned into a mutant, but like Professor X can walk around because of course he would be able to do that, and like that's a fun little touch. It's like, oh wow. So
I don't know why, but I really like Cerebro.
Yeah,
it's just really cool.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it's a great design. That's in like all of these X-Men movies.
Yeah, I don't know why I like
iconic.
it.
It's awesome.
There's nothing like specific I like about it. I think it's just cool.
It's just minimalist and really cool. I don't love the Mystique changes the weird blue goo to black goo, and then his head hurts. There's 2 minutes of this movie where I always zone out, which is the bit like after that where Professor X he puts on Cerebro and then like he's like, oh, my brain, which was literally me in class on Friday. After that, and then like Jean runs in and he's like, I'll do it. Like that bit, I'm like, fuck you.
And then she does the exact same thing as Professor X.
That's my least favorite like 2 minutes of this movie, but it goes by so quick that I don't mind.
I mean, yeah, it's 2 minutes of an hour and 45-minute movie.
Yeah, huge recommend from me. I mean, you've probably seen it. It's an iconic film. Can't really fault it for that.
Yeah, if you watch like superhero movies often, you've definitely seen this. There's like no way you haven't.
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty much a modern classic at this point. First X-Men, that's like you can reference this movie and everyone's like, yeah, I know what that is. I think it's to that level, and that's definitely a good sign. And if you somehow missed it, you've only seen the MCU movies, which is probably true for a lot of people who do listen to this show, just because I mean that's the majority exposure to these.
Yeah.
I think. Then yeah, I think definitely check it out. It's a lot campier and whatever, but
I mean it's on like every streaming platform ever, so
yeah,
it's not like you can't.
No, it's not hard to find. Everything going forward is pretty easy to find, except Man Thing, which I am still having a headache looking for. But yeah, I guess that's kind of it from us though. This is definitely my favorite thing we've watched, and I'm excited to watch Blade 2 next week. See how that stacks up.
I hope it's good.
I really hope it's good. I have memories of. I have some very clear memories of scenes in that movie that I think are awesome. And
is it more or less weird than the first one, or do you know?
Like campy?
Yeah.
I think it's less goofy than the first one.
Okay.
But also I think it's gorier. I don't want to say that.
Automatically worse. No.
Yeah. I know it's not as fucking ridiculous. Oh, you want ridiculous? Just wait for Blade Trinity, Vampire Pomeranian. We've talked about it, so don't worry.
Is it Ryan Reynolds in it?
Oh yeah. As
that's how you know it's gonna be fucking interesting.
Ryan Reynolds is in it as a character named Hannibal King. So
okay, yeah.
And Dracula is in it. His name's Drake. We've talked about it. So. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. This one actually ran a little longer than I thought it would, but you know, it's a fun movie to talk about. There's a lot to explore in this one, so it's a pretty packed feature. But
I think all the X-Men ones are gonna be pretty long, compared to some other movies.
Honestly, like going forward, I could never I couldn't tell you what the established time code for all these are gonna be because it's hard to tell.
Because it just depends on Well, I actually don't know what it depends on.
Because, like,
It's
last
like-
week's episode was, like, 42 minutes. This one will probably be, like, an hour 10. So.
Yeah. I don't really know how we end up with, like, really short and really long episodes.
But hopefully it doesn't annoy you too much. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Marvel Movie Pod. You can find me, you can find us on Gmail at marvelmoviepod at gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at flippedegg. You can find me on Twitter at flippedegg, but the E and egg has a 3. Franny is an anti-mutants raid activist. The mutants actually hacked his Twitter feed and posted
I'm turning into water as we speak.
Yeah, guys, I really got to get a bucket for this motherfucker right now. Thank you so much for listening. Last week you ended it by telling our listeners that you hate them. So do you want to anything to say this week?
I still hate all of you.
Oh my god. This fucking guy.
I'm a Wolverine, and my hatred keeps me warm.